Hey everybody, I'm John Janawicz, member of Kegel's lane maintenance team and USBC Hall of Famer. Being involved with lane maintenance with Kegel for the last 22 years and being a competitive bowler most of my life, one of the most commonly asked questions that comes to me from social media, via email, or sometimes right in person at the tournament site is, how do I play this pattern? Well, this leads into a really complex answer which takes into consideration the lane surface and its age, topography, the type and condition of the lane machine that's being used to oil the lanes with, and the player's skill set and the equipment that they're using. We're going to start an educational series of videos where we try to line up on different patterns and see if the pattern plays the way we think it should. With this series, we'll also show why certain parts of the lane will play better than others with some patterns, why certain ball selections will work better than others, and since we have the unique ability here to have two different common lane surfaces that are used in Pro-Am lane and SPL2, you'll be able to see the differences of each lane surface's characteristics. In future shows, we'll be able to display the difference between our conditioners and how the pattern changes depending on the lane machine being used, and also how some of the different features in our lane machines change ball motion. And we might even have a few special guests show up from time to time. Now obviously ball motion with a set pattern will vary from center to center, but when patterns are created, they're created based on the lane surface that they will be bowled on. Well, for this show, the patterns created and tested will be based on the near flat and brand new lane surfaces, which is the environment that we have here at 2051 Longleaf Boulevard, or as we like to refer to it as, Area 2051. Speaking about the 2051 building, this is our lab, so to speak, which will be the stage for this series of videos. Kegel created this multi-purpose test center to be able to test new lane conditioners and potentially do overflow batch testing for these lane conditioners, and to test patterns and new lane machines in a private and secluded environment away from the world-renowned Kegel Training Center. It also provides tech support, an area to be able to run some of our other machines and help troubleshoot problems that customers may have with some of our legacy machines, like you see on the wall, as well as a place to teach our Level 1 lane maintenance courses and a place for those students to be able to run the lane machines that they are here learning about. This is the ideal environment to see how true a pattern will play. So if it plays different than what you see at your center, you can chalk that up to differences in the lane machine, lane surface, and lane conditioner. Each month we'll be using a different lane machine and chemicals to show you, the viewer, the difference between how the ball slows down. Now this month we'll be using the Kegel Icon along with Terrain Conditioner and Defense C mixed at 5-to-1. Terrain is the newest product in the Kegel family of conditioners, and it will slow the ball down more than any other conditioner in our line. In other words, it'll make the ball hook the most. And with my rev rate these days, I need all the hook I can get. This month's pattern is the ultimate blend. We have made the pattern a medium length of 42 feet, which is about the average house pattern length, with a drop brush distance at 36 feet, and the volume is an above average 26.8 milliliters. Now when you look at the load structure, you can see it takes all the forward load streams going forward with no extra loads on any particular board. On the reverse pass, we've added a little bit more oil from boards 6 to 10, starting at 31 feet, to help with durability and building up the laydown area. Now, if you don't know exactly what all these numbers mean and want to learn more about the specifics of reading patterns, click on the link for the webinar that Gus Fologine and Doug Dukes did on our YouTube page. For most tournaments and league, 10 minutes of practice is standard. You can get off about 30 total shots if you're ready to go, and assuming no pin setter is issued in 10 minutes. We'll be testing 3 different zones on 2 different lane surfaces. And that'll be about 10 shots in each zone, which is basically 5 shots on each lane in each zone. Now obviously when you're in league or tournament play, you'll be sharing this pair with 1 or sometimes 9 other people, like in a 5-person league. So you need to be observant of what the other players are doing and help you draw conclusions to get lined up as quick as possible. Since we know what the oil pattern is, we're just going to try and get lined up and see which ball and zone makes it easiest for us to hit the pocket. Because as far as I'm concerned, the zone that gives me the most mistake area is going to be priority number 1. Now with my experience, we should have multiple angles in play with this pattern design. We should have a shot closer to straighter of up 5-6 with a smoother, slower response ball. Now with the urethane boom in the last 5.5 years, I'll be using a purple hammer with a 5-inch pin for this particular zone. We should also have decent ball reaction, around 10 at the arrows, being a little bit straighter with a slight belly to around 5-6 down the lane with a lower flaring reactive ball, which I'll be using a web tour with my standard 65 by 5 by 35 drilling. And we might even have some decent reaction with a bigger flaring ball, trying to loop it from maybe like around 15 at the arrows to about 8, which I'll be using an idle pearl with an 80 by 4.5 by 70 drilling. But now it's time to figure out and see which zone is actually the best one. Now with the purple hammer, I had a really nice look playing around 6-4. Had a nice smooth ball reaction considering when I got the first shot right early, it didn't hit the dry too strong and went flush, and then I got the next one in and it laid off and went flush, and then I split the difference on shot 3 and all 3 shots struck. I knew I had a decent look. 2 more shots thrown and they struck, so I knew I had just a great look there. Now when I went in with the Web Tour to play around 10-6, I still had a good look, but I noticed that the ball was going a little longer than I'd like. The shots I got to the friction still shaped well, but the shot that I threw in the third shot there, when I got it in the oil, you could see how much longer it went, and then it rung a 10-pin. Still an overall good look, but I needed to make sure I got the ball to the friction. Now when I went to the idle pearl, I thought I'd have a similar look, but when I threw the second shot, which I didn't think was terrible, and Specto confirmed that, and I 210'd, I was a little bit concerned. Shot number 3, I got a little bit deeper into the lane and rung another 10-pin. It's ironic that because I had the best Specto data actually with my 5 shots with the idle pearl at 15, and my worst Specto data with the purple hammer playing around 5, I struck 5 times with the purple and I had 3 strikes and a ring 10 as well as a 210 split playing 15 with the idle pearl. So the moral of the story is, if you're playing in the wrong part of the lane with the wrong ball, you will not maximize your scoring potential no matter how good you throw it. And what I did on the SPL lane was I threw my first shots in each of the 3 zones in the same place that I threw on the pro lane, and then that way I can get a good read on how much different the SPL surface was compared to the pro lane with the same pattern. Now, as you can see on my first shot with the purple hammer, it didn't stay on line, so I made a 3 and 2 left with my feet, and it looked good on shot 1. But since now I'm moving left with a urethane ball, I was getting lazy down the lane for a ring 10 on shot 2. Overall, I thought I had a pretty decent reaction and I got the last shot in and it held and it carried, which is always a good sign. Now the first shot with the Web Tour going 10-6, I got the old 4 through the middle there, so I made a 5 and 3 left, and then the ball reaction looked really good. Notice even though I'm farther left with this ball compared to the pro lane, notice how the ball isn't going as long as it was on the pro lane surface. The ball slows down a lot quicker and the shape is a lot more rounded. And that's totally due to the higher friction in this SPL lane surface. I've got some hold and I've got some carry and I struck on all 5 shots. Now the first shot with the idle pearl, you'll notice went high flush trying to go 15-8. I count that for being the fact that I was in the heaviest part of the oil for the longest distance, so the ball stayed on line compared to the first shot with the purple and with the Web Tour. Now I made a 1 board move left with my feet and I moved my eyes 1 right down the lane to make sure that I used more angle through the front to get it to the dry, and the ball reaction looked really good as well. Notice how much earlier the ball picks up compared to the pro lane, and you could see and I could feel that there was also pretty much no fear of leaving a 210 like I did on the pro lane. Almost felt like I couldn't throw it through that spot down the lane, and I had hold, swing, and carry to boot, and that makes me happy. So you might ask, what ball in line would I start with on each lane? I think some of that would depend on the circumstances. Now if it was a team event or like league where I'd be staying on the same pair, I'd want to use the Web Tour at 10 on the pro lane. Now if this were a singles tournament where we were bowling on one game on one lane and then moving pairs, I would absolutely use the purple hammer at 5, as that gave me the most mistake area and the pin carry. But in team events where you're not moving pairs, sometimes that urethane carry down might not be the best thing for some of your teammates depending on who you're bowling with. Now in the SPL, the Web Tour at 10 and the idle pearl at 15 both looked really good. But I would definitely go with the Web Tour at 10 because personally, I try to stay a little bit straighter on the fresh and closer to the friction if there is no major difference in margin of error or pin carry. Now to me, being straighter is better through lane transition and also safer when changing pairs, especially after that first game where the field tends to be playing all over the place compared to later in the block where that friction spot is definitely more defined down the lane. I hope you enjoyed this edition of JJ's Pattern Reviews, and stay tuned for more pattern reviews in the near future.